anyone joining us electronically on this midweek extra. We've tried to provide interesting people that I can interview, or interesting subjects that I can attempt to attack. So as you are able to watch these things, please feel free to comment or criticize or whatever. This is not because I don't have anything else to do. It's because I'm trying to, in this environment, this virus environment, to reach out to you in a way I hope helps. Our guest today is from not far away, at least in an ecclesiastical sense, because the church she is serving right now is right next door, and we at St. Mark's are very familiar with Covenant Presbyterian because we've had a season of cooperation for quite some time now. Kate Morgan, I'm not real sure how long you've been there, but welcome over here.
Well, thank
for
you.
At least
it was
today.
such a long journey from the back door over here, the few feet to this door. So, yeah, it took all of 5 seconds. So it is a pleasure to be with you here today. I have been at Covenant now for just over a year. Yes.
So you started when?
July of last year.
Of 19?
Yes.
Well, we hit the ground at about the same time.
About the same time, yes. Mm-hmm.
I started in...
You snuck into that first service where I was, yes.
Yeah.
You were supposed to be on vacation.
Okay.
But you came and visited,
yeah.
So.
All right. And where had you been previously? And can you say just a little bit about yourself?
Sure, yeah. I have served churches in New Jersey, in Gloucester City, which was an urban setting where we did a lot of work with young children who were just out on the streets, homeless, advocacy, and feeding people. And I did a stint as a chaplain at Ancora State Psychiatric Hospital in New Jersey, which is a very large facility in South Jersey, one of the largest psychiatric hospitals, state-run psychiatric hospitals in the country. There are very few state-run psychiatric facilities left. So
how did that end up on your lap?
I had done my CPE, my clinical pastoral work at Ancora, and had been debating whether to follow that path or into congregational ministry. So when my time at Gloucester City ended, I thought, well, there was an opening there, and I had some contacts there, and they said, well, why don't you, apply? I thought, oh, okay, all right, I'll explore this and see if this is really where God is calling. And I loved my time there, but I was very glad when I received a call to another church.
I have to share this. I don't mean to interrupt you, but in my day, if you took CPE, Clinical Pastoral Education, while in seminary, you were being punished for something.
Oh, no.
Well, in my day, in my context.
Oh, gosh.
So I didn't have to take it, and I took it in my first parish, and it was a 3016 program, as we called them in those days. And I so appreciated that I applied for and was received in a residency at UVA. And they asked me, I was an enigma to them. They asked me, do you want to be a chaplain? And I said, I don't know. I think I want to continue to be a parish pastor, but a better equipped one. And when I got through with that, I got called here to direct the hotline that Concordia started, Hot Contact. And that gave me both clinical work and parish work. So I was pleased. But that sounds very similar.
It's, well, we don't view it as punishment.
Oh.
But as something that all pastors in the Presbyterian tradition must do as an extension and continuation of their self-discovery, as well as honing their tools that they will use wherever they find themselves called. So I found my time there very valuable. It has applied to congregational ministry. I think we do not give enough attention to people who are struggling with mental health issues.
Sure.
It's like the still unspoken thing. It used to be cancer, and now people talk freely about that. People don't talk so freely about mental health issues. And right now during COVID-19, my gosh, everybody has some level of a mental health issue, whether it's isolation, whether it's frustration with wearing masks, whether, whatever it is. But people who have diagnosed issues are really struggling. It's very hard. So, it really informs my ministry in so many ways.
We, by the way, for your interest, will next be interviewing, actually later today for publication a little later, Steve Dutton, who's the clinical supervisor of the CPE program at Christianity. I've been involved in that program since its inception, and I've watched it grow from a 3016 or its equivalent to full-blown residency, and it's really an excellent program, by the way.
Yeah.
And if ever you need a chaplain to call on a member that you can't get to, they've been stellar in terms of their responding, and they do it on my behalf. They tell the patient that they're coming because I can't.
Fortunately, we haven't had anybody in Christiana. We've had a couple people in and out of the one in Wilmington.
Wilmington Hospital.
Yeah, Wilmington Hospital. But so far, we've been pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where'd you do your seminary work? I'm just curious.
Princeton.
Oh, I
Seminary.
did a THM there.
Yeah.
Okay. Know the place?
It's a lovely campus.
Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful professors.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Did you have Donald Capps, perchance?
I did.
He was my advisor.
Oh my gosh. Yes, I did have Donald Capps for pastoral care.
Yeah?
Yes. He was wonderful.
Good guy. I always wondered what happened to him. I kept up for a couple of years.
He retired.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's written so many books.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
So, anything recent?
Not that I know of. The last one that I know of was the use of humor in pastoral care.
Oh, I haven't seen
Yes.
that. I'll have to look that up.
Yes.
We need it. The times are so serious, it's difficult to get appropriate humor in.
Well, I'm not a very good joke teller. I know some people start off sermons with jokes and things, but I really only have one joke. So I never remember punchlines.
Oh.
So it's not a good thing. For me, it's really not a good thing.
Well, but humor isn't just jokes.
No.
There's, yeah. Okay.
I do tell funny stories about my husband.
Oh, does he know that?
With his permission. With his permission.
Okay.
Yes, with his
Okay.
permission.
Okay.
Yes.
And I presume you live in New Jersey now,
Yes,
right?
I do.
Okay.
Yes.
That's a little bit of a commute for you, huh?
It's 40 minutes depending on traffic, but it's really kind of a nice either gear up for the daytime or unwind at the end of the daytime.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I find that to be very helpful to, it's so easy to bring work home, and I do, And when we were working from home, it was even harder to keep those boundaries, But I find that drive helps me to shift gears and to start to relax into, okay, I'm going to be home. I'm not going to think about this problem right now. I'm not going to start writing liturgy right now. I really should get dinner, and be with family.
So what, let's say worship-wise, is happening at Covenant?
We are still live streaming with all the wonderful problems that presents. For a while, I was actually live streaming from home with my little phone, just me, in the house with usually a cat walking by, looking into the camera. That was always fun. But if I didn't let them in the room, you would hear cat sounds, desperately wanting to be part of whatever I was doing. So when the weather got better, I moved out to our front porch where neighbors would walk by and say, "Hey, what you doing?" "Well, I'm doing worship right now. You want to have a seat?" So that was kind of fun. Then we went to recording, just to give ourselves a little break, but that seemed to be even harder. getting everything done by a Thursday for Sunday and then recording it. And then Ryan, our music director, would have to put it all together, edit, and he's working full time and got kids at home. And it was just, so we went back to live streaming, but live streaming from the church. And that seems to, we have heaved a sigh of relief.
Now, is that just you still?
It is just Ryan, myself, a lay reader, possibly one other person to help with sound. We've just put in Sling as you have, and are learning, because we're not tech people, but we are learning new skills. So yeah, it's an adventure. Every Sunday is an adventure. You never know what's going to happen.
So, but the church otherwise is not
We are
open.
not doing in-person worship. No, not.
And
no.
is there a plan, depending on the direction of COVID and vaccines and all that, to do it? Is it a wait and see, or
Right now, every session meeting, it seems to come up. We are going to actually discuss putting a plan in place, but now with COVID cases rising again, I sincerely doubt that we will be back in person. We are going to be planning some outdoor events, which you are all invited to. I hope you
Yeah, I want to talk about what we can still do together.
We just had a planning session yesterday and are looking at Advent and some activities every Sunday outdoors, like we did the brown bag concerts.
Mm-hmm.
Those were at noon. All the activities now will be at 4 p.m. right before it gets dark, but just enough so we can maybe have some candlelight and bonfire or something,
Do most of the members at Covenant live within some reasonable proximity, or?
Some do, most of them do. Some are a little bit of a distance.
Yeah.
And we have seen people online who are quite far away. So it's kind of nice to be able to offer that virtually.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Your sanctuary, I'm just being encouraging here, I think, because we can shut this down anytime we feel it necessary. And we just lost somebody due to COVID. Had the
Gosh, yeah.
memorial service yesterday, and we have been as cautious as we believe is possible. Everybody's temperature is taken when they come in the building. Everything is spot clean.
Yeah.
Everybody wears a mask, everybody keeps distance. I celebrate communion in a way we're not accustomed to. They don't have to come up and get it. It's given to them when they come in, little kits and so forth. But it seems to me that your sanctuary, just how large it is and how it's configured, would lend itself to, we can handle 40, 45. We've been getting 28,
I'm sure we
30.
could handle up to 75.
Yeah.
Easily with social distance in place. But so far the session has said, we'd rather wait when it's safe for everybody to come back. We'll see how that goes, because we've been opening up the building more and more. We've got the Learning Hub going on right now. We've got 13 kids in the Learning Hub. They're in the building from 8 o'clock in the morning until 5:30 at night. So it's sort of a combination of, offering this to the school and to parents who have to get back to work but can't afford to place their child somewhere during the day so that they can be online learning safely. So we're working with the elementary school across the street and the families that we know are in dire need of a safe space for their child to learn. So we've got 13 kids there. And then the Melody program started. Which is the Music School of Delaware. Their program where they also reach out, like our Edge after school program, to at-risk children, low-income families who can't afford daycare or after-school care. And as Edge provides, homework help and food and safe space again. Melody provides tiny violins. And music instruction as well as homework help.
Are those programs that had been there and set aside for a while and now reactivated, or are they new?
No, Melody is new. The Learning Hub is new.
Okay.
Edge has been there for over 10 years.
All right.
The Edge After School program, Edge for Tomorrow. But the Learning Hub, that is just because of COVID. And because they are still mostly their learning is online at the elementary school and Brandywine School District, but they are starting to have kids do hybrid. So kindergarten first, and I think next week second grades will be spending 2 days in the classroom if the parents are okay with that. We have a couple of first graders, and one is going to the school 2 days a week. The other parents said, no, just stay on virtual. So, and the Melody program is new, and that came out of the virtual summer arts camp that we did this summer.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think back to my days back then. It's incomprehensible for me to think of being on a computer as school life. You know, it just.
Well, the kids are doing well. They're adapting. It's
Well,
really
sure
quite
they are.
incredible.
They're-
Yeah, it's a lot. You know.
It takes them a while to develop their resistances. We adults sometimes have. Back to worship opportunities outside things. You started
Yes.
to talk about that.
Yes.
What is that all about?
Well, each Sunday during Advent, we are going to have at 4 p.m. The first Sunday of Advent, which is the last Sunday of November. Is that the 29th?
Yes.
I think it's the 29th. Caroling. Safe sidewalk caroling. So we will gather outdoors. We'll have lights and music. Masks, just like we did with the brown bag concerts. Everybody's socially distanced. Wear your mask. Family groups can stand together, but everybody else, 6 to 12 to 13 feet apart. And we can safely sing Christmas carols. We can't do that indoors. Singing indoors is really a bad idea right now, after we, have found out what
we don't
droplets
do. We just don't.
Right, yeah. So we figured everybody is going to need to come together and be able to sing favorite carols as community. So this is one way that we can do that.
Now, are they in cars or are they in chairs in the grass? Or?
You can bring a chair, you can stand. It's only going to be for 30 minutes. If you need to sit, bring your little chair, your beach chair, your stadium chair, your soccer mom watching chair, whatever chair you want to bring. And we will be singing carols.
Excuse me 1 minute. I want to speak to St. Mark's and simply say, one of my concerns about whatever we end up doing Christmas time is that I really believe people, especially on Christmas Eve, love to sing the traditional carols. And we're just not going to be able to do that.
No.
So this is an opportunity to let that out and join in with our brothers and sisters over at Covenant. And it is at 4 o'clock.
4 o'clock.
Sundays,
Yes.
beginning the 29th of November.
The
Through Advent.
Yes, the second Sunday of Advent, which is December 6th, we will be having a 3:30 in the afternoon Blue Christmas outdoors, and then caroling. So Blue Christmas, we know a lot of people, it's a very difficult time of year. Trying to be happy, to have that Christmas spirit when you've lost a loved one is just about impossible. So we want to recognize that and help people mourn, acknowledge it, and just be with them in that space and say, it's okay, you don't have to feel happy. You don't have to feel that Christmas spirit that we're, supposed to feel.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay. It's all right. And we'll stand with you and mourn with you, feeling whatever you feel. So that will be from 3:30 to 4 o'clock, and then we will have caroling. There's always caroling. And here's another way. We need help with a live nativity. On the fourth Sunday of Advent, third Sunday, 4 o'clock, caroling, fourth Sunday of Advent, we are going to do a live nativity outdoors with activities, different stations that you can go to, and do a fun thing or a pondering thing, like Mary ponders, so we'll give things to ponder to people. And we could sure use some help with that. We need some people to help being, the different tableaus. You don't have to do it it's going to be from 4 to 6. That would be an extended one. And
do you have a crash hall that you set up, or?
I don't know. I honestly don't know.
So do you need Joseph and a few shepherds?
We need some shepherds. We need a couple of Josephs, because we're going to have a station with like Mary and the angel, then Joseph and the angel, and Mary and Joseph on the way to Bethlehem. If anybody has a donkey, bring that along. A couple camels. I'm sure somebody out there has a camel, right? Maybe
One would hope.
All right, yeah. So, and we don't want people to stand there for 2 hours. So it'd be nice to have a couple of folks, playing those roles so people can take a break.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Again, St. Mark's, this is something that we would encourage. We can make it kind of a joint event, or we can just piggyback on
that'd be wonderful to be a
doing.
joint event.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so please, if you've got that interest and you're available that time of day, and so should they contact you, or
Contact me, contact the church office.
or they can contact our office?
You can contact St. Mark's. They'll get the word to us, yes.
That's the way
yes.
the secretaries know what's going
Yeah,
on here.
yeah, the
far more
secretaries
than
always
we do.
know. I just let Nancy run everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a given.
Okay. Kate, one of the concerns I hear, and I've read a little about, is that in a situation like ours, and similar certainly to yours as well, that people can easily become very comfortable with being in their pajamas and robe, having coffee.
Oh, isn't that wonderful?
And watching the church service from a distance. We're even offering virtual communion now.
Oh, we do too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the only way we do it.
Well, that's right.
Yeah, we don't.
But we invite people to take bread or wine and wine or grape juice. That kind of barrier has been crossed a long time ago. Somebody asked why we can't use tomato juice, and I said, nah.
Oh, I would go for biscotti and coffee.
But anyway,
the espresso of Christ. Is that sacrilegious?
Anyway, the issue is, will we be able, when this thing finally abates, and we don't know when that is?
No.
Will we get people back? I don't know. We're doing what we have to do now.
Absolutely.
But the thing I hear mostly when I have contact with people from St. Mark's is we miss each other.
Yes.
I hope we miss each other enough that that's going to bring most people back into the worshiping fold.
I think so. People need community. People need that feeling of community. And we are always our better selves when we are in community, because we call each other to account. Or we should, right? Yeah. We don't always, but we should. But yes, people need community, and we have found that out through this time of isolation. People are asking, well, maybe we could come back in, and session keeps saying, oh, not yet. Let's be safe. But people do need that community. That's one of the reasons we had this brown bag concerts. We could safely gather outdoors. So we're finding new ways of being community, which is kind of exciting, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we're finding new ways of being church. And the few Sundays that I was, on vacation or somebody else was preaching for me, let me tell you, I was in my jammies with my coffee. And it was kind of fun. It was kind of nice. It's a new way to worship. It's a new way to reach people. And we are going to continue to live stream after this is over.
Oh, we
Whatever
will
that
too.
will be,
As a matter of fact, we
yeah.
had planned to do that
Oh, yeah.
before COVID hit. But our people also, many of them are watching our synod's service. The bishop conducts a service, or his agents.
You can watch 3 or 4 or 5 services all on a Sunday.
It seems like every member has a cousin Charlie in Milwaukee who's
Who
a
has
preacher,
got a
and they
church,
watch
yeah.
that. you know, and
Yeah.
so they're getting more faith now, at least in an isolated sense, than they
Yeah.
got when they were getting together.
Yeah. But people do miss seeing each other.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
we try to
really
pass
do.
the peace online. It's not quite the same as passing the peace in church. Yeah.
And will we ever be doing that anymore? Ever?
I don't know. We do the Presbyterian bump a lot of times, especially during flu season. We've done that for a long time.
Which is?
Elbows.
Oh, yeah. Well, we were doing that too.
Presbyterian bump.
Did you
Yep.
invent that? The
No.
Presbyterians?
The Presbyterians did, yes. Oh, absolutely. I think John Calvin wrote about it.
Oh,
Yeah.
Luther didn't get into that
Yeah.
much.
No, that was definitely Calvin.
And I don't remember any arguments about it either. Got a call from our brother Methodist,
Oh, Jonathan Whitney, yes.
and did he get through to you?
Yes, and I have not had 2 spare seconds to get back to him, which I will be doing this week, yes.
And
you should
also-
invite them to come and sing, too.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
I also heard from the Episcopal priest, who's also a physician,
Marta,
and she's doing a study. I've turned that
Yes.
study over to our secretary.
yes, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't get into remembering all the names here, but it seems to be that there's energy for those of us professionally and who miss the collegiality and the opportunity to plan and get creative with what's going on in our world. So it's making an attempt to kind of come back in some fashion, and I'm excited about that.
Yeah. We did a Bible study. Actually, it wasn't a study. We read as a church, White Fragility on racism and systemic racism. And we were able to do that with the Presbyterian Church in Dover through Zoom. It was fantastic. We had wonderful conversations. We would not have been able to do that. We would not have even thought about it if it hadn't been for COVID-19. As bad as this is, and it is really bad, there are some bright spots, because we're called as a people to look for God's activity, no matter what the situation, to find the hope, to find the new thing that God is teasing out of all of this, right? So who would have thought we would have a joint study with a church that's how many miles away? What, like an hour drive?
Yeah, 50 anyway.
Yeah. It was fantastic. Would not have happened if it hadn't been for COVID-19. There are some possibilities that we just would not have thought about.
Now, church, my
It was great.
middle daughter used to belong to pre-COVID, supported a congregation in Tanzania or wherever in Africa, and during the service here, they would Skype the village over there, and that kind of electronic possibility
Yeah.
is beautiful because people can see the very people they're supporting and
Yes.
praying for and
Yeah.
being engaged with. And so I agree. There's some, though, Kate, I'll tell you what, I was okay with being a civilian. And St. Mark's is a very special congregation to me for reasons that we can talk about some other time. I think they know it. But otherwise, I would not, I would still be just trying to adjust to being in the pew and singing my heart out and volunteering for certain things that were in keeping with my passions and so forth and so forth. So what that means in a practical way is I can get excited about what the future holds creativity-wise and all that in ministry. We're not going to stop doing ministry. We're going to find ways to do it.
Exactly.
But I'm getting up there enough where it starts to get tough to, like you mentioned the live nativity. I couldn't stand for any amount of time. So if I'm going to stand there peering at the child, I'm going to wear out in about 3 minutes.
Well, you can be a wise man and sit on a camel.
There you go.
There you go. Yeah. That'll do it.
What else comes to your mind about let me call it the general area of networking into the future, but also the specifics of our two congregations, which are in such proximity that it would be a shame if we didn't get as creative as we can get, regardless of the circumstances.
Yes. Yes.
We're neighbors.
We are neighbors. Yes. Yes. And friends besides neighbors.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And there is often a distinction, sometimes you're neighbors and maybe not such good friends, but we are neighbors and friends. I've been encouraging, and the church started this, Covenant started this right before I got there. It's called the Unglued Church.
I'm sorry.
Unglued Church.
The Unglued Church.
The Unglued Church, yes. The church is coming unstuck.
Oh, okay.
They engaged in a year-long endeavor to engage with design thinking, not even thinking outside the box, but dismantling the box. The box is no more. We've shoved the box aside and really engage with the community, our neighbors, near and a little further, and to see what opportunities God has and how to engage. So we were in that process and had already been doing some things with design thinking and really what we call empathetic listening. Not just telling people that we think they need, but actually listening to what people really need from us and how to be good neighbors and how to be allies. So we're going to continue that process, and we also have to think creatively about what God is doing right now. Things are changing, and the church had already started changing. I mean, church with a big C, all over the place. Churches are changing. Things are not what they used to be. They can't. Time moves on. God moves on. And it's up to us to at least try to keep up with where the Spirit's leading. We might not be able to get ahead of that Spirit, but we can maybe keep up or keep an eye on where this is all going. And being open to where God is leading us in this. And the church might not look the same as it used to. And I kind of think it's not going to look the same or be the same, but it will still be the church, and it will still be the gathered community in whatever form that takes. I think it's just keeping our imaginations open to possibilities.
I believe that the church, again, pre-COVID, you almost have to say that because it's a little different now, was trying to become an institution of the 21st century. And it takes a while, and the world has changed, and how we relate to that world needs to change without compromising or apologizing for what we believe or in whom we believe.
Right.
And so we went through a visioning process. That's a part of my job, and the transition team didn't like the word visioning, so we have a covenant journey. And it's a document. With COVID, we've not been able to get the formal adoption of it done. So we're presuming, it's been out there though. But one of the things that I can say about it proudly, and it's not my document, the transition team was just excellent in terms of their being able to read the congregation and other input that they had and so forth. There's balance between those kinds of things that have to do with us maintaining our ministry interiorly and reaching out in various forms. And we want those to be equal. Now, as grandiose as that may seem, they can be.
You can't have one without the other. You can't.
No, you can't. But how many congregations in this day and age are reading the times in a relatively frightening way, so they move inward.
They close inward.
Yeah,
which is sad.
When that happens,
the church will die.
Yeah, you're glued.
You're glued.
You're
you are
glued
glued to the pew.
Yeah.
That's not a good thing. No. We just finished up a study on Acts, And we're, again, surprised, amazed at the work that God does in and through so many different kinds of people.
Mm-hmm.
And that, the example of the early church is that you don't have to be all the same. You don't have to. Mm-mm. You don't have to be little identical people, and everybody thinking the same, feeling the same, looking the same, whatever. The church is very diverse. And that's how that diversity helps the church to live and grow and expand and to bring the good news to more and more people. And it's different. Every group, every diverse group that joins will bring their own unique way of experiencing God and experiencing that message of good news. And not only are they changed, but we should change too. And that's the example of the early church.
Sure.
And we forget that. We forget that. We've become an institution. And institutions don't like to change. They like that, status quo. And if people upset that status quo, they tend to push them aside. But that's not the example of the early church. It's this living, dynamic, organic thing that's stretching and growing and maybe tussling with itself, but ever expanding the message of the kingdom.
And we can look with suspicion or with awe at the Jerusalem church in terms of the way they functioned. The sharing of all kinds of goods and so forth, kind of an early communism.
It was a communism.
Yeah, but there's no
Absolutely.
mandate that the church in Corinth or the church in the provinces of
They
Galatia.
were all different. They were all different.
Sure.
Yeah.
My favorite story, perhaps in the whole New Testament, actually, is the Ethiopian eunuch.
Oh, yeah.
And not to get into all that relative to Acts, but I think it's a very revealing story on all kinds of levels. In any event.
And Peter and the dream that he has.
Yeah.
And Cornelius. I mean, if that isn't about inclusion, I don't know what is.
But bringing the story of the Ethiopian eunuch to life for me, at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem, have you been?
I have not, no.
The guide is through one section of that, and you see an area which was purportedly the crucifixion area and another area that's the resurrection area, and actually historic and archaeology maintains that it's at least in that area and not some other. Mm-hmm. But in the back rooms where most pilgrims don't get to go, I got to go there because I was a student at St. George's. There's an Ethiopian priest, and it's kind of a dark kind of area anyway. That whole building is a little bit dingy to me. It's got a lot of hanging stuff and all that, but it's old and dingy. I just can't help it. That's the way it is. And this part of it's even worse. And but he sits there in a brown robe and waits patiently for somebody to ask him to read Acts in Ethiopian.
Oh.
And if you ask him, the smile on his face brightens up the whole area, and you can tell that's his ministry. Mm-hmm. Is just sharing that thing. And then, of course, you can leave him a little bit of a tip for doing that. I don't know if tip is the word, but it's just, and that's our brother in Christ, whose ministry is like mine.
No.
But it's valid and vital, and I'm sure he represents
anything that is life-giving.
Oh, absolutely.
Life-giving. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, anything else that comes to mind or heart?
Goodness, not that I can think of, but I really hope that St. Mark's will join us outdoors for the Sundays of Advent, and some
we're going to
wonderful community and caroling.
Yeah, we're going to be taping just a very short bits of music, and it's kind of a lessons and carols thing. By the way, that opens up something else. We do have this.
Yes, I have a staff meeting too, so
What time is that?
11, I'm fine.
Oh,
We're
yeah,
fine.
we'll
We're
be
fine.
done. What about the Sunday after Christmas? Let me go there. Do you have any plans for that?
We are actually going to be recording something, I believe.
Okay.
That could change. That could
Yeah.
change at a moment's notice, but for right now, we are going to be pre-recording that.
So there's a history of us doing something on that order together.
There absolutely is. So, everybody could, just tune into our live stream that day.
Uh-huh.
Ryan, as I said, my music director, Ryan Preislick, and I were meeting last night. We were talking with our worship team virtually, through email mostly. And I really do think that we will be pre-recording something because we're going to do a live stream Christmas Eve service, and then a pre-recorded midnight, just a very short midnight piece,
Uh-huh.
Christmas Eve, a lessons and carols for Christmas Day that people can, log on to whenever they like. We'll premiere it, but then it will be there, for them to see. And then that Sunday after Christmas, I think, will also be, it may be live streamed, it may be pre-recorded. We're not really sure about those details yet. So
Okay.
again, everything can change in the blink of an eye.
Sure it can.
But the 4 Sundays of Advent, at 4 o'clock, we'll be out there caroling.
Well, and again, we're going to provide something. We can share that with your people. And again, maybe somebody can't come to a daytime thing, but can visit us at night or vice versa, whatever.
Yeah.
We can advertise those things with each other. Now, on Christmas Eve, just FYI, we expect to have 2 services. We typically would anyway. Actually, they used to have 3. And we are spacing them such that the church can be cleaned adequately. And we don't know how to expect people, so we're asking for reservations. It's just that it has to be done.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we believe that we won't have the kinds of crowds that we would normally expect, but more than we should probably try to handle. And so we're going to spread it out and see what happens. So it's difficult sometimes. But
It is, because
we're not going to cancel Christmas Eve.
Oh, no. And whether we held church services or not, Christmas Eve would happen. I mean, it's not, thank God, it is not on us to make Christmas happen. That is totally up to God. And God does that every year. Every year. Whether you're in church, whether you're not in church, whether we are live streaming, whether we're pre-recording, Christ comes into the world again.
Mm-hmm.
And
Amen.
that is the whole point of all of this.
I can't help but tell you a story.
Oh,
Real
dear.
quickie.
Okay.
In my first years in the ministry, which were in Toledo, Ohio, we had a Christmas Eve service and a Christmas Day service, and I added an 11 o'clock service so that we'd be there at midnight, and lots of candles and all the singing of Silent Night and all that stuff. And we had absolutely most people coming to that. In those days, people came out. This was the early 70s, and I finally canceled the Christmas Day service. Nobody was showing up for it. I get a letter from one of the members that said, "How dare you bolt the doors of the church on the birthday of our Lord?" And I said, "God, I didn't mean to do that." You know how that kind of thing is.
Oh, yes.
Oh, my.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming.
You are so welcome.
And we'll look forward
it
to
was a pleasure.
Yeah, we'll look forward to some things together here
Yes.
in the future.
Yes.
People of St. Mark's, have a great day.
Hi, everybody in St. Mark's.
There you go. Okay.